My beloved brothers and sisters, every single one of us goes through moments in life when the road becomes heavy, when the heart feels tired, and when the future looks uncertain. There are times when problems surround us from every direction. Perhaps it is financial hardship, family issues, health struggles, or emotional pain that no one else seems to understand. In those moments, it may feel like the darkness will never end. But the believer always remembers the powerful promise of Allah in the Quran. For indeed, with hardship comes ease. This promise from Allah is not just a possibility, it is a certainty. Hardship is never permanent. When you look at the nature of this world, you will realize that nothing stays the same forever. The night always gives way to the morning. The storm eventually clears and the sky becomes calm again. Similarly, the difficulties you face today will not remain forever. Allah did not create hardship to destroy you. He created it to strengthen you, to purify you, and to bring you closer to Him. Many times we only turn sincerely to Allah when life becomes difficult. When everything is comfortable, we sometimes forget our dependence on Him. But hardship wakes the heart up. It reminds us where our real strength comes from. One of the biggest signs that good times are approaching is when your hardship pushes you closer to Allah. When your problems make you raise your hands in sincere dawah. When your tears fall during prayer. When you ask Allah for forgiveness and guidance. This is not a sign of failure. It is actually a sign that Allah wants good for you. Allah is drawing you closer to Him. Sometimes Allah removes the comfort of the world so that we can rediscover the comfort of His remembrance. And the one who finds peace in turning back to Allah has already begun the journey toward relief. Another powerful sign that ease is coming is when Allah places calmness in your heart even though the problems have not completely disappeared. Have you ever noticed that sometimes your situation is still difficult, but somehow your heart feels stronger? You feel a strange sense of peace that you cannot explain. This is a gift from Allah. It is as if Allah is telling you, do not worry, I am taking care of you. The storms may still be around you, but inside your heart there is a quiet confidence that everything will work out. That inner peace is not random. It is a sign that Allah is preparing something better ahead. At times, relief begins with small changes that we may not immediately recognize. Perhaps a door that was closed suddenly opens. Maybe you meet someone who helps you in an unexpected way. Sometimes a solution appears where there was once confusion. These small openings are signs that the situation is changing. They are reminders that Allah is in control of every detail of your life. What we often see as coincidence is actually the careful planning of Allah. When Allah decides to bring ease into your life, He can create solutions in ways you never imagined. Hardship also has another hidden gift. It transforms you. It builds patience, humility, and trust in Allah. Before the test, you might have been a different person. Perhaps your faith was weaker, your patience was smaller, or your gratitude was limited. But after the struggle, you emerge stronger. You begin to appreciate blessings you once ignored. You become more compassionate toward others who are suffering. And most importantly, your connection with Allah becomes deeper. In reality, the hardship was preparing you for the blessings that are coming. Many of the greatest people who walked this earth went through intense difficulties before they experienced relief. Their stories remind us that trials are not signs of abandonment. Instead, they are often signs of preparation. Allah sometimes delays ease not because He has forgotten you, but because He is arranging something greater than what you asked for. What feels like a delay may actually be protection. What feels like loss may actually be a redirection towards something better. So if you are going through a difficult period right now, do not lose hope. Continue making dua. Continue praying with sincerity. Continue trusting Allah even when the answers are not immediate. Remember that Allah sees every tear that falls from your eyes. He hears every silent prayer in your heart. Nothing escapes His knowledge and nothing is wasted in His plan. The believer's strength lies in hope. Even when the road seems dark, the believer walks forward with faith because he knows that Allah's promise is true. Ease will come, relief will arrive, ease will come. Relief will arrive, the chapter of hardship will close, and a new chapter of blessings will begin. The moment you think you cannot go any further may be the exact moment when Allah opens the doors you have been waiting for. So hold on to patience, hold on to faith. The storms of life are temporary, but the mercy of Allah is endless. And remember this beautiful reality. Sometimes the greatest blessings come right after the most difficult tests. Your hardship may simply be the path leading you toward the ease that Allah has already written for you. My beloved brothers and sisters, one of the most comforting realities a believer must hold firmly in the heart is that hardship is never permanent. No matter how heavy the situation may feel today, no matter how long the struggle has lasted, difficulties in this life are temporary. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, did not create a world where pain lasts forever. Just as the night eventually fades into the light of dawn, every hardship carries within it the promise that relief will follow. There are moments in life when a person feels completely overwhelmed. Problems may come one after another. Financial struggles may make the future seem uncertain. Family conflicts may break the heart. Health challenges may weaken the body. At times like these, a person might start believing that the situation will never change. Shaitan whispers into the heart, telling you that things will only get worse, that you will never find relief. But the believer must silence those whispers by remembering the promise of Allah in the Quran. For indeed, with hardship comes ease. Indeed, with hardship comes ease. Notice how this promise is repeated. Scholars explain that when Allah repeats something in the Quran, it is to emphasize its certainty. It is a powerful reminder that difficulty is always accompanied by relief. When we look around at the world that Allah created, we can clearly see this pattern everywhere. The harsh winter does not last forever. After the cold comes the warmth of spring. The darkest night eventually gives way to the brightness of morning. The strongest storms eventually pass, leaving behind clear skies. If Allah has placed this pattern in nature, then how could the hardships of our lives be any different? Life itself is a series of changing moments. One day may bring difficulty, but another day may bring unexpected blessings. Sometimes the problem is not that relief is not coming, but that we expect it to arrive immediately. Human beings are naturally impatient. When we make dawah, we often want the answer to appear instantly. When we face a challenge, we want the problem to disappear quickly. But Allah knows the perfect time for everything. There are moments when Allah delays relief because He is teaching us patience, strengthening our faith, or protecting us from something we cannot say. What feels like a delay may actually be a form of mercy. A believer understands that hardship is not punishment for everyone. Sometimes it is purification. Every difficulty that a believer goes through can erase sins, raise ranks, and bring the person closer to Allah. Imagine carrying a heavy burden of mistakes and shortcomings, and through a period of patience and struggle, Allah removes that burden from you. The pain you felt was not meaningless. It was actually cleansing your soul and preparing you for something better. There is also something very powerful about how hardship changes a person. When life is easy all the time, people may become forgetful of Allah. Comfort can sometimes lead to heedlessness. But when difficulty strikes, the heart awakens. The person begins to turn to Allah with sincerity. The hands rise in dua more often. The prayers become deeper and more heartfelt. In this way, hardship becomes a bridge that brings the servant closer to the Creator. Think about the moments when you felt most connected to Allah. For many people, it was not during times of luxury or ease. It was during moments of struggle when the heart had nowhere else to turn. Those tears, those prayers in the quiet of the night, those sincere cries for help, these are precious in the sight of Allah. They show humility, dependence, and true faith. So when you face hardship, remind yourself that it is only a chapter in your story, not the entire book. The situation you are dealing with today will eventually change. The pain that weighs on your heart today will not remain forever. Allah is in control of every moment, and He has already written the relief that will come after the test. Hold on to patience. Continue turning to Allah and never allow despair to enter your heart. The difficulty you are experiencing today is temporary. But the mercy of Allah is vast and everlasting. And sometimes the very struggle you wish would disappear is actually leading you toward blessings you cannot yet see. My beloved brothers and sisters, one of the most powerful signs that ease is approaching after a period of hardship is when your struggles push you closer to Allah. When life becomes difficult, it has a unique way of waking the heart. It reminds us of something we sometimes forget during comfortable times, that we are completely dependent on our Creator. In moments of ease, a person might feel strong, independent, and in control. But when hardship arrives, we quickly realize how fragile we truly are and how much we need the help of Allah. There are times when a person goes through life feeling distant from their faith. The prayers may become rushed, the remembrance of Allah may become less frequent, and the heart may slowly become attached to the temporary things of this world. But then something happens. A challenge appears, a difficulty enters their life, and suddenly their perspective begins to change. They begin to turn back to Allah with sincerity. They start raising their hands in dua more often. Their prayers become deeper and more heartfelt. They begin to seek forgiveness, hoping that Allah will open the doors of mercy and relief. This change in the heart is not something small. In fact, it is one of the greatest blessings a person can experience. When hardship leads you back to Allah, it means that the test is already serving a beautiful purpose. Instead of pushing you away from faith, the difficulty has brought you closer to your Lord. And when a servant sincerely turns back to Allah, Allah never ignores that return. Allah loves when His servant calls upon Him. He loves when the believer humbles themselves and asks for guidance, mercy and help. Sometimes Allah allows certain difficulties to enter our lives, not to harm us, but to reconnect us with Him. It is as if Allah is gently reminding us, come back to me, turn to me. I am here for you. In reality, the greatest loss in life is not financial loss or worldly problems. The greatest loss is losing connection with Allah. But when hardship causes a person to rebuild that connection, then that hardship becomes a source of immense good. Think about how powerful sincere dua is. When a person calls upon Allah with humility and hope, they are directly communicating with the one who controls everything. The doors of the heavens are open for those who ask sincerely. Sometimes the answer to that dua comes quickly. Sometimes it comes later. And sometimes Allah gives something even better than what was asked for. But the important thing is that no sincere prayer is ever wasted. Every dua is heard, every tear is seen. There is also something deeply beautiful about the way hardship softens the heart. When life is comfortable, the heart can sometimes become hard and distracted. But difficulty humbles a person. It reminds them that this world is temporary and that true peace comes from the remembrance of Allah. The person begins to appreciate simple blessings they once ignored. They become more grateful, more patient, and more aware of Allah's presence in their life. When you find yourself turning to Allah more sincerely during a difficult time, do not see it as a sign of weakness. It is actually a sign of strength and guidance. It means your heart is alive. It means Allah is giving you the opportunity to grow spiritually and strengthen your faith. And very often, when a person reaches this stage of sincere connection with Allah, relief begins to draw near. Allah promises in the Quran that when His servants call upon Him, He responds. Their response may come in ways we do not expect, but it always comes with wisdom and mercy. Perhaps the difficulty will be removed completely. Perhaps Allah will replace it with something better. Or perhaps He will give you the strength and peace to overcome it. So if your hardship has pushed you to pray more, to remember Allah more, and to seek forgiveness more sincerely, then understand that something beautiful is happening within your heart. The journey back to Allah is already a form of relief. And when a servant sincerely returns to their Creator, the doors of mercy and ease begin to open in ways that only Allah can arrange. My beloved brothers and sisters, another powerful sign that ease is approaching after hardship is when Allah places a deep sense of calmness in your heart, even though the storm around you has not yet fully disappeared. There are moments in life when the problems are still present, the challenges are still there, and the situation has not yet changed. But something inside you begins to feel different. Instead of constant panic, there is patience. Instead of overwhelming fear, there is quiet trust. This calmness is not something that comes from the world. It is a special gift from Allah. Sometimes we think that peace can only come when our problems disappear. We believe that once the financial issue is solved, once the family conflict ends, once the health improves, only then will our hearts feel calm again. But Allah shows us something much deeper than that. True peace does not always come after the storm ends. Sometimes Allah places peace directly into the heart while the storm is still happening. This is what gives the believer strength to continue moving forward. Have you ever noticed how two people can go through similar difficulties, yet their reactions are completely different? One person becomes overwhelmed with anxiety, anger, and despair. The other person, even though they are struggling, remains calm and hopeful. The difference is not always the situation, bit low in itself. The difference is the state of the heart. When Allah fills the heart with tranquility, a person gains the ability to face difficulties with patience and dignity. This inner peace is a sign that Allah is taking care of you. It is as if Allah is reminding you that you are not alone. Even though the challenge may still exist, Allah is strengthening your heart so that the difficulty does not break you. The believer begins to realize that their reliance is not on the circumstances around them, but on the one who controls those circumstances. There is something very beautiful about this stage of faith. Instead of constantly asking, why is this happening to me? The believer begins to say, Allah knows what is best for me. Instead of being consumed by fear of the future, the heart starts trusting that whatever Allah has written will ultimately lead to good. This trust does not mean that the person ignores their problems or stops trying to find solutions. It simply means that their heart remains anchored in faith while they continue making effort. When Allah gives a believer this calmness, it changes the way they look at life. The problems that once seemed unbearable begin to feel more manageable. The fear that once filled the heart begins to fade. The believer starts to understand that every situation is part of Allah's greater plan. Even if the path is difficult, they know that Allah is guiding them through it. Sometimes this peace arrives during moments of sincere prayer. A person may be standing in salah, pouring their heart out to Allah, and suddenly they feel a sense of relief that they cannot explain. Nothing in the outside world has changed yet, but the heart feels lighter. That feeling is a reminder that Allah hears every prayer and sees every struggle. It is a gentle reassurance that help is closer than we think. This tranquility also allows a person to make better decisions during difficult times. When the heart is filled with panic, people often act in ways they later regret. But when Allah places calmness in the heart, the believer becomes more patient and thoughtful. They are able to face challenges with wisdom rather than fear. So if you are going through a difficult time and you begin to notice a quiet strength growing within you, do not ignore it. If your heart feels more patient than before, if your trust in Allah feels stronger, and if you find yourself feeling calm even when the situation is not fully resolved, then recognize this as a beautiful sign of Allah's mercy. The storm may not be over yet, but Allah is already preparing your heart for the relief that is coming. Sometimes the first step toward ease is not the removal of the problem, but the strengthening of the heart that is carrying it. And when Allah strengthens your heart with peace and trust, it often means that the doors of ease are already beginning to open, even if you cannot yet see them. My beloved brothers and sisters, another beautiful sign that ease is approaching after hardship is when you begin to notice small doors opening in your life. Sometimes when we are going through a difficult time, we expect relief to arrive in one big moment. We imagine that suddenly all our problems will disappear at once and everything will become perfect again. But very often Allah brings relief gradually. It begins with small changes, small opportunities, and small signs that the situation is slowly turning in your favor. At first, these changes may seem very minor. Perhaps someone unexpectedly offers help at the exact moment you needed it. Maybe an opportunity appears that you never thought about before. Sometimes a problem that seemed impossible to solve begins to show a small path toward a solution. These moments may look small from the outside, but they are often the beginning of something much bigger. They are reminders that Allah is in control and that He is gently guiding events toward relief. Many times when a person is overwhelmed by hardship, they focus so much on the big problem that they forget to notice the small blessings that are still present. The mind becomes occupied with worry and fear, and as a result, the person may miss the subtle signs of Allah's help. But if we pause for a moment and reflect, we often realize that even during our most difficult times, Allah is still opening doors for us. Think about how many times in life something worked out in a way you never expected. Perhaps you were worried about a certain situation and suddenly a solution appeared through a person you did not even know before. Maybe you were struggling with a financial difficulty and an unexpected opportunity for work came your way. These moments are not random accidents. They are part of Allah's perfect plan. What may appear as coincidence is actually the careful arrangement of the one who controls everything. Sometimes relief begins with a change in direction. You might lose one opportunity, but that loss leads you toward something better that you had not considered before. At the time, it may feel confusing or even painful. But later, when you look back, you realize that the closed door was actually guiding you toward the right path. Allah knows what we do not know. He sees the future while we can only see the present moment. When Allah begins to open small doors, it is often a signal that the period of hardship is slowly coming to an end. It is like the first light that appears before sunrise. The night may still be there, but the light tells you that the morning is close. In the same way, these small openings are signs that the situation is changing. The believer learns to recognize these signs and respond with gratitude. Instead of complaining about what is still missing, the believer thanks Allah for what is beginning to improve. Gratitude has a powerful effect on the heart. It reminds us that Allah has never abandoned us, even during our most difficult moments. When you notice these small positive changes, hold on to hope. Continue making dua and continue trusting Allah. Sometimes the biggest transformations in life begin with the smallest steps. A single opportunity can lead to a new chapter. A single conversation can change your direction. A single conversation can change your direction. A single moment of help can remove a heavy burden. Allah has the power to change your situation in ways you cannot even imagine. What feels impossible today can become easy tomorrow if Allah wills it. And when the doors of relief begin to open, they often start quietly and gradually before becoming clear and undeniable. So if you begin to notice small improvements in your situation, do not overlook them. See them as signs of Allah's mercy and kindness. They are reminders that your hardship is not endless and that Allah is already preparing the path toward ease. The believer walks through difficult times with patience, knowing that every closed door can be followed by a door that opens. And sometimes the small openings we see today are simply the beginning of the great relief that Allah has already written for tomorrow. My beloved brothers and sisters, another powerful sign that good times are approaching after a period of hardship is when you begin to notice growth within yourself. Hardship has a unique way of transforming a believer. The struggles you face are not only external challenges, they are also opportunities for inner growth. When a person passes through difficulty with patience and faith, something inside them changes. They emerge stronger, wiser, and closer to Allah than they were before. Before a test enters our lives, many of us may feel comfortable and secure. Life seems stable, and we may not realize how much we still need to grow. But when hardship arrives, it reveals parts of our character that we never noticed before. It tests our patience, our faith, and our trust in Allah. At first, the difficulty may feel overwhelming. The heart may struggle to understand why things are happening the way they are. But slowly, if the believer remains patient and continues to rely on Allah, a beautiful transformation begins. Patience is not simply about waiting for a problem to disappear. True patience means maintaining faith, controlling frustration, and continuing to do what is right even when life becomes difficult. When a person practices this type of patience, they develop a strength that cannot be shaken easily. They learn how to remain calm during storms and hopeful during uncertainty. This kind of strength is a gift that only hardship can produce. One of the most beautiful changes that often happens during difficult times is the growth of trust in Allah. When a believer realizes that they cannot control everything in life, they begin to rely more deeply on their Creator. They begin to understand that every situation is under the control of Allah's wisdom. This trust, known as tawakkul, brings a sense of peace that no worldly solution can provide. Instead of constantly worrying about what might happen, the believer learns to place their affairs in the hands of Allah while continuing to make sincere effort. Hardship also teaches gratitude. During comfortable times, it is easy to overlook the blessings that surround us every day. Health, family, safety, and countless other favors from Allah may go unnoticed because they feel normal. But when difficulty touches one part of our life, we begin to appreciate blessings that still remain. A person who experiences hardship, he often becomes more grateful for the simple things that others may take for granted. Another beautiful result of hardship is that it softens the heart. A person who has experienced pain often becomes more compassionate toward others. They understand what it feels like to struggle, so they become more willing to help those who are going through similar situations. In this way, hardship builds empathy and kindness. It transforms a person into someone who cares deeply for others. When you begin to notice these changes within yourself, greater patience, stronger faith, deeper gratitude, and a softer heart, this is a sign that the hardship is already producing something valuable. Allah is shaping your character and preparing you for greater blessings ahead. The person you are becoming through this struggle is stronger than the person you were before it began. Sometimes the blessings that follow hardship require a person to have a certain level of maturity and strength. Without the experience of struggle, a person might not be ready to handle those blessings properly. So Allah allows the test to build the qualities needed for the future. What feels like a painful chapter may actually be training for a greater purpose in your life. The believer understands that no difficulty is wasted in the sight of Allah. Every moment of patience, every prayer made during hardship, and every act of trust in Allah carries reward and meaning. Even when the path feels long, the believer knows that Allah is shaping them through the experience. So if you notice that your patience is stronger than before, your faith feels deeper, and your heart has become more humble and grateful, recognize this as a sign of growth. It means that the hardship is not simply something you are surviving, it is something that is building you into a better and stronger believer. And very often, when a person shares this stage of growth, the doors of ease begin to open because the test has already done its work. It has strengthened the heart, deepened the faith, and prepared the person for the blessings that Allah has written for them ahead. My beloved brothers and sisters, one of the most powerful and comforting truths that a believer must hold on to during hardship is the promise of Allah that ease always follows difficulty. Allah, in His infinite mercy and wisdom, has guaranteed relief for every test that His servants face. The Quran tells us clearly, indeed with hardship comes ease. Indeed with hardship comes ease. This is not just a poetic phrase or a hopeful wish. It is a promise from the one who created everything. Every believer must carry this promise in their heart because it is the anchor of hope when the storms of life seem unbearable. Sometimes when we face difficulty, we allow despair to enter our hearts. We may feel that the problem will never end, that relief is impossible, or that Allah has forgotten us. But the Quran reminds us that no difficulty lasts forever and no test is without a purpose. Allah places challenges in our lives not to harm us, but to teach us, to purify us, and to elevate our ranks. Karmas, but to teach us, to purify us, and to elevate our ranks. Hardship is a part of life, but so is relief, and Allah has promised both as inseparable companions. Every test we encounter in life is measured by Allah. Nothing happens to us without His knowledge. Sometimes the burden may feel heavy, the path may seem long, and the heart may be weary, but this does not mean that relief is far away. In fact, very often, the moment we feel that we cannot endure any longer is precisely the moment when Allah is preparing to ease our situation. The believer must hold on to patience and trust, knowing that Allah's timing is perfect and that His wisdom surpasses our understanding. It is also important to understand that relief may not always appear in the form we expect. Sometimes we pray for a particular solution and Allah answers in a way we did not anticipate. Perhaps a problem is solved gradually rather than all at once. Perhaps a loss is replaced with a blessing we could never have imagined. Allah's plan is always better than our own, and His wisdom ensures that every test we face is ultimately for our benefit. The believer must have faith that even when things do not unfold exactly as planned, the promise of ease is still being fulfilled. The promise of ease after hardship is not only for worldly matters, but also for the heart. Heart and soul, when a person endures difficulty with patience and sincerity, their faith grows stronger. Their reliance on Allah deepens and their understanding of life's temporary nature becomes clearer. These inner blessings are a form of ease that is far more valuable than any worldly comfort. Even in the midst of trials, the believer can experience peace, contentment, and spiritual growth, knowing that Allah's mercy is always near. It is also a reminder that nothing in this life is wasted. Every tear that falls, every moment of struggle, and every act of patience carries reward and meaning in the sight of Allah. Even when the relief is delayed, it does not mean it is denied. The believer continues to make dua, to pray, and to trust Allah, knowing that the promise of ease is guaranteed. This hope fuels perseverance, strengthens the heart, and prevents despair from taking root. Remember, the promise of Allah is universal and timeless. Every believer, regardless of their circumstances, has the right to hold on to it. Hardship may vary from person to person, but the relief promised by Allah is certain for all who turn to Him. The believer walks through trials with faith, trusting that ease is on the horizon, even if it is not yet visible. This promise encourages hope, resilience, and unwavering reliance on the most merciful. So if you are going through a difficult time today, do not lose hope. Continue to be patient, continue to pray sincerely, and continue to trust in Allah's plan. The hardships you face are temporary, but Allah's mercy and ease are eternal. Hold on to this promise firmly in your heart. Know that every difficulty carries within it the seeds of relief, and that Allah, in His infinite wisdom and love, has already prepared ease that will follow your hardship in ways you may not yet see. My beloved brothers and sisters, as we reflect on all that we have shared today, one truth stands clear. Hardship is not the end. It is a path that leads to ease. Every difficulty we face is temporary, every trial is a test, and every moment of struggle carries within it the opportunity for growth, patience, and closeness to Allah. The signs of relief are often already present, small doors opening, inner peace growing, and the heart turning sincerely to Allah in prayer. These are clear indications that ease is on its way, even if we cannot yet see it fully. Allah, in His infinite mercy, reminds us that with every hardship comes relief. This promise is certain and unwavering. As believers, we must hold on to patience, maintain hope, and continue to trust in Allah's wisdom and timing. The trials we face purify our hearts, strengthen our faith, and prepare us for the blessings that lie ahead. Every tear, every dua, every act of patience is recorded and valued, and nothing is wasted in the sight of Allah. So do not despair when difficulties arrive. Instead, embrace them as a means to draw closer to Allah, to grow in strength and character, and to prepare for the beautiful ease that awaits. Remember, the storm will pass, the doors of opportunity will open, and Allah's mercy will envelop you. Hold firm to faith, trust in His plan, and know with certainty that good times are coming. Relief is near, and ease follows hardship. Keep your heart hopeful, your spirit patient, and your reliance on Allah unwavering, for He is the most merciful, the most wise, and the best of planners.